Eddie Frederick has it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we're strong and more to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, going up, higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses EDDIE-FICATION to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through EDDIE-FICATION, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper health care and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, whereas national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful, wonderful. And of course, welcome to
edification. You must have seen me laughing there. Of course, I'm getting some private messages because people just know today gonna be good. A matter of fact, folks, prepare yourself for overrun today because we're gonna have a wonderful time. Prepare yourself to interact. Prepare yourself to obey commands because together we all will make Grenada proud again. We're having the last laugh, aren't we? And it's happening all in the fullness of time. So, welcome, welcome, welcome for this fair Sunday, 11th February 2024. Who would have thought that we would have made it to 2024? When we were going to school and they tell you, you hear about 2001, you're like, you don't think you'll make it? No, because that seemed so far. Now we are in 2024. Could you imagine? 4 days after the 7th of February, the big deal of our 50th anniversary of national independence at the National Stadium at Queen's Park, which gave all of us renewed sense of nationhood. Folks, hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. If you all need any more convincing, the 7th of February occasion was it. 7th February 2024 can be considered reset for us all after 50 years of some glorious and not so glorious moments. The reset must be dominated by a factual narrative and not one steeped in old talk and mawet, or better put, inferior opinions steeped in total ignorance. It is high time our mostly youthful population is exposed to truth, whether they are appetizing or not. We have to face the fact that all administrations and their leaders came with excesses during their various tenure in office. Some more onerous and ominous than others, with of course the old nastinesses being the most devastating. Hey, that's a fact. That's not an opinion, it's a fact. We must never pretend. With all Gary's excesses during his time, I am still proud to tell anyone, anywhere, all the time, I am a Garyite. Up to now. I could see some of my Kodak friends laughing because they know what I mean. Yeah. Up to now. But does not muffle the historian in me to face the facts. I have deep admiration for the revolutionary period also, with history dictating that I be fair in my description of its leadership as that of Maurice Bishop, the charmer and the charismatic element, and not the visionary and brain behind the revolution. I know the Bishopites are some of them going to be upset with that, but that's a fact. And of course, some of the Cordites too may just be as upset. Fact. That is how the facts of history present, as they were symbiotic, these two men, and the revolution could not have reached as far as it did without the input of both, since they embodied two different but all important qualities: charisma, oratory, elocution skills, for one, and disciplined, hard-working, and visionary competence for the other. Whereas in Cuba, all those were rolled up into one maximum leader, Fidel Castro. Here in Grenada during the revolution, it took both Maurice Bishop and Bernard Cord to embody a semblance of them. Come on, folks, share the live. Tag your friends. Our topic for today's discourse, straightforward. If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. That's common sense. Just stop digging. We are blessed to have a youthful prime minister elected by the people who is showing that he is all about people in just a short 19 months when compared with his predecessors 23 years, and the accomplishments are chalk to cheese. I plan to talk a lot today about things, but before I get to erupt with them too soon, allow me to spend some valuable time talking about the entire production of the activities to mark our 50th anniversary thus far. I am not interested in attending any function, as I have already declared to you that I am not mixing for fear that I end up mixed up. My policy going forward is not to accept any invitation at all. And so far, so good. My time is spent on doing things that make sense. Things that would help with me shaping my knowledge and making my knowledge a lot more profound so that I can share it and make myself useful to this civilization, regardless of the reactions of others. My focus is to be as forthright as I am. What I saw on Wednesday, 7th February, was a display of inclusion, regardless of which side of the polarized political fence we belong. We were included, and we ought to all feel included. The live broadcast teams reflected this the most. Kijana Romain and his team, the organizing committee, the operations secretariat and its leader, Mrs. Gail Purcell. Oh, you all are the best, all of you. Thanks for making Grenada and Grenadians proud again. You know, before June 23rd, 2022, it was bare mawet, total rubbish. Any old thing goes. Mediocrity, vap. If it turn out good, it turn out good. Well, Grenada has had enough of that crap. And thank God, the good people have surfaced once more. Talking about live broadcast, though, I must say the star of the entire event on Wednesday was fabulous Brenda Batiste, who was well researched, resulting in her confidence to put her knowledge on display with her musical voice and her well put together and excellently packaged self. She really knows how to present in a total sense of the word. Kudos to her and Richard Simon for the pre-military parade commentary, which set the mood for this gallant occasion. They were sorely missed during the military parade, I could tell you that. And when she returned with her youthful male colleague to officiate over the second part, which crescendoed with the historical account of our 50 years actualized via a really ultra-modern drone show, we could not desire better. A serious recommendation for our current authorities. Please enter into a serious discussion with Miss Brenda Batiste. No hangers-on, just Miss Brenda Batiste, to take the lead in training young, interested talents in the art of live broadcast. We need to really give our young people a chance to be discovered and for them to discover and realize their own talents while they contribute to our nation's development in its various forms. Brenda, you brought it home. Heartfelt congratulations to you and all who worked along with you to make Grenada proud again. So much prayers are over this nation that I believe they are having the effect of an impenetrable firewall over this new wave of blessings we are experiencing here in Grenada. There's a new mood in town, and we can see it through the vibe of rejection we see on the faces of those who have to turn up to public functions just to keep up appearances, and whose misconduct can be easily observed because of how out of sorts they have become. Status starved, in other words. Not being the star of the show anymore must be a hell of a thing for the fallen indeed. Folks, that firewall has to be installed in order to prevent the unwanted from getting in to corrupt your focus, to corrupt your mind, to corrupt your conversations, your mood, and your behavior. You have to make sure you install a great spiritual brand, one that workers of iniquity could not overcome. Have a firewall over family, over your own mind, so that it protects you from your thoughts, your emotions, the trauma that certain people put you through. As Bishop Bronner tells us, quote, our God is a God of consuming fire. He stood between the children of Israel and Pharaoh's army in a pillar of fire at nighttime, so they could not approach them. You need to be able to invoke the prayer wall of fire into your life, because there are some demonic things that need to be burnt up here in Grenada. When we see how Grenada's main demon behaves as if to let loose his angels and surrogates to create mayhem in our midst, we have to invoke God's firewall over our homes, over our families, over our jobs, over our talents. Because somebody right now is trying to figure out how they can come in and corrupt your goodness and mash up your new path to glory. You better begin to pray and continue to intercede on behalf of others. Hey, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Just plain old common sense. Let's take a little break and we'll come back. Folks, a lot more where that came from.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, biting opinion pieces, as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sodas, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze like no waters. Friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for. Oh, island in God. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going
Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Well, folks. You know, it will do a lot of the opinionated historians well to join us here today, because I can't stress enough how much history is based on fact and not opinion. And if only we would know that, we would be able to face the facts. Because who is facing the fact? Who is telling you about the goodness of the revolution? Who is telling you about the goodness of Gary? And who's telling you about the reality of the 23 years of the old nastiness? Not opinions, facts, incontrovertible facts. That's what history is. A chronicle of events that happened, not that you wanted to happen, or you wished happened, or based on how you interpreted it in your ignorance, you thought it happened. Hell no. History is about facts. Welcome back, folks. And for those of you just joining, welcome. Folks, the fresh air that is blowing in, over and through Grenada, with a new vibe, is speaking loudly to the sore losers who refuse to listen. You can never fight a person with a good heart and win. Heaven will fight you back and disgrace you. They ought to feel disgraced already. They ought to, trust me. Our 50th is a big deal, and we ought to observe it in fine style. Nobody wasted more time than the old nastiness of a leader. These nastinesses followed for 23 years of those 50 years, in which they enabled the plundering of Grenada, wasted resources on guaranteeing multi-million-dollar loans that were drawn down by international crooks and conmen that we all have to repay today. The $15 million allotted this festive occasion, which continues beyond the 7th of February 2024 for a whole year, is a big enough deal that belongs to us, the people, and the money is correctly spent on us. It is with damn money, and we should say, we sorry they're not spending more. Y'all remember that? We learned that from the best. You see, folks, I learned that up to the day before 7th February 2024, not even $5 million was spent yet. The money is being properly managed. If you look at the people around the precincts of the organization of our 50th anniversary situation, the festivities, you will see none of them fitting the category of a cat that has been put to watch freshly caught jacks. All the middlemen crooks, the old nastiness used to have as hangers-on, are no longer around to charge exorbitant fees. Rates are paid directly to providers of services and facilities. Too many people in Grenada are way too comfortable with being dunce. Just how the old nastiness had many of you, most of whom are his cult followers. You are so comfortable being treated like that, that you feel that is how things are supposed to be with your life. No, break out of that bondage and plead the blood of Jesus, as the Christians would say, so that you can be removed from that yoke. Time to see the light and remove yourselves from this perpetual darkness. In case you all did not get the message, hello, things have changed. There's a new sheriff in town. And guess what? Hashtag. Folks, put that in the comments here for me. Hashtag KWT. Gone and he not coming back. Hashtag KWT gone and he not coming back. You know, things are being done democratically to suit the majority. 62% of whom are young people under 35. This is a youthful population and majority rule. You want democracy? That is democracy. The way the old nastiness used to do things is no longer relevant to our new times. He was a man who followed conventions and kept this nation under the wraps of colonialism, even though we were independent under his 23-year tenure. I saw somewhere an idiot saying that no honors announced for independence. Mind your cult business. The young leadership is doing things differently to suit the majority of youthful population, not how they used to be done under the old nastiness. Isn't that interesting? Get with the program, folks. A new sheriff is in town. Get it in your thick skulls. Things have changed. The majority of people who voted change, and they got their pension. They voted for change, and they are getting a cleaner and more beautiful Greater to live in. They voted for change, and they get a government of action who told you the celebrations will be for an entire year because 50 is a big deal. Get used to it. The government could honor worthy people in several segments of the entire year and not just one particular group on Independence Day. Hello, get with the program. Go and sit down in a corner and join the old nastiness in taking some of his self-inflicted punishment for your insistence on being foolish. We are not listening to you except to push you back when you come with your stupidness. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. Get the message, folks. We can hear cries of extravagance in relation to the high quality of our celebrations. And who's speaking? People that look like vagrants. People that need the example of a higher expectation so they could come out of that grundig look that they sport as a matter of course every day. Drake-like looking people. The so-called extravagance you speak of is benefiting all the people and not just one or two old teeth as you're accustomed to. You want to know what extravagance is? Take a listen. Let me teach you what extravagance is today. Thieving is extravagant. And all of you know a lot of thieving was main on the agenda between 1995 and 2022 for the most part. That is why we have an over $2 billion national debt today. Too much thieving was going on. Selling diplomatic passports against all United Nations conventions that we are signatory to was also a form of extravagance. How come you did not speak about that? How come you did not talk against the handing over Mount Hartman to a conman who we had to buy it back from? That was extravagance. Everything wrong among you nasty shepherd did that you saw nothing wrong with, you want to manufacture and ascribe to a decent administration today. But you notice the administration didn't even take it among you on. Giving away Grenada's sovereign land, kickbacks, was extravagance. Taking millions per year and investing it in laziness and rudeness through an unplanned and rudderless Imani program that had no end, while holding young people hostage and captive for upwards of 10 years, while their personal development as useful citizens was totally stymied, and they stood no chance of seeing daylight, was extravagance. Taking millions to give people on a regular so-called debushing program who worked with little to no supervision, chang the sides of our roads. That was extravagance. See how the same sides of the roads are being done today properly, using millions on seed program to include many, many people who ought not qualify to receive any of these funds as part of any public assistance program, just to develop and increase the vote farm so they could be officially established as poor and vulnerable, taken advantage of to vote for the old nastiness that was extravagance. I suppose you get the message now as what extravagance really is. I can go on to no end because the devious nature of that old nastiness beat all cockfight. Hag, Keith gone, and he not coming back. Well, you must be ashamed, eh? Keith gone, and he not coming back. Y'all have to be ashamed, because if you are you that don't know that, it will do you well to understand that as we speak. Look, I just put up the proper hashtag there for you. The money you are concerned about that was spent on a spectacular drone show that you invent and put to the cost of $2.5 million and all kind of stupidness that you called extravagant was spent to make us feel good as a people. And you vex. You didn't see your stump to the drain? Why you didn't stay in the drain? Why you dry and come out of the drain to come and look at drone show to come and talk crap now? You should have stayed in the drain. That drone show alone should make all of you understand. The old nastiness is not coming back. All of a sudden, you're talking about the number of poor, hungry people money spent on the activities could feed. Have you ever asked yourselves who have them poor and hungry? Ask yourself the question, and if you're honest, you will know is the old nastiness that have them poor and hungry. 23 years of the old nastiness that have them so. Laziness was an art developed by your cult leader to have all of you beholden to him on his vote farm. Tell among you, things have changed you. And all of you who had 23 years of active training as to how to feed off the treasury, go and learn to work. I tell among you already. Go and take some Sene, some Mist Alba, some kind of purge, because we want all hands on deck. We want to include you, excluding yourselves. Go and take your purge. Go by the bushery and see if you could declutter all the evil, iniquitous spirits that have been taking up residence in your souls. Go and see if you can expunge yourself of them. And come, because we intend to include you. Come, because this is a government of inclusiveness. But you have to bid first. You have to sanitize first. If you don't sanitize, you cannot be included. Folks, I could afford to talk like this. You know why? I'm not on the market for friends. Take it as it comes. You like it? You're good. You don't like it? Still good. A matter of fact, better for me. You see, you all realize our national treasury is open for legitimate business only and will no longer be used to feed anyone who wants to remain on the old nastinesses vote farm while expecting handouts. On the 23rd of June 2022, the majority of people who voted issued an edict, a proclamation if you would. The days of largesse and handouts are over. O-V-E-R. The self-imposed owner of the vote farm was evicted as he was squatting for much too long. The old nastiness is not coming back. Folks, you did not see the old nastiness, that man-child of a cult leader at the celebrations at Queen's Park on the 7th of February. Visibly uncomfortable. Body language depicting that little selfish boy who decides, all you can say I didn't come, but I'm not playing with all you. So instead of wearing the national symbol on his person like every patriotic dignitary at the festivities on the 7th of February at the National Stadium, he had to put his in his crotch. You know the local word for crotch? He had to put his in his crotch and open his legs far, far apart like the common wabin that he is, resembling a laborer gone wrong. I am not the only one who noticed this, but I find where he was put to sit at both the ecumenical church service and at the stadium on 7th February must have been uncomfortable for Mrs. Thomas, wife of former Prime Minister Tillman Thomas. After all that old nastiness did to make Mrs. Thomas feel uncomfortable in the public service, and some people would be saying while hearing me say uncomfortable, you mean terrorize. You could see him talking to her in an overly familiar manner. All you have to say to that is, oh, Gede, you know, I am sure she could not reach home soon enough to have compulsory Epsom salts bath to sterilize properly from any iniquity that may have attempted to latch on to her from this seemingly unclean old nastiness. Because spiritually, it's very unclean. I tell all you, the old nastiness gone. I'm not coming back. But I also told you, he ain't good and he ain't good long. The positive and upbeat mood in Grenada tells all of us he ain't coming back. Folks, that is why if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Common sense. Let's take another break and we come back. Hey, more fire coming, you know, so study your head. Come on, keep sharing, keep hitting that share button because we want. Hey, we're not easy today, folks. We're making no joke today.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification, not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The clearest is on the waters. Friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown and far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up,
As we aspire, build up us as people together. Bang, 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 slowly up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, and welcome back again. No sticking because we have quite a bit of onions to fry and a lot of areas to cover, and it's already 20 to 3. So just recently, as part of my daily Thought for the Day series that I would post on social media, I shared something someone said to me regarding legacy. And I want to share it here today. Quote, someone said to me that the first 50 years of life are dedicated to building one's legitimacy, while the last 50 are devoted to building one's legacy. How true. So many of us spend the first half of our lives striving for achievement and struggling to gain respect. Once we have this legitimacy, whether it comes in the form of prestige or material possessions, we soon realize that something is missing. We then spend the remaining years of our lives trying to do what we should have done from the beginning, create a legacy, unquote. Hey, we have seen how the legacy of Grenada's longest serving leader is highly regarded as lying, vulgarity, slackness, corruption, pauperization, vulgarization, backwardness, messing with good things like law and order, the public service, and just general decency, not to mention his total selfishness, which of course evokes the sound meow. You know as meow? Good. Whatever you want. Almost 25 years into the 21st century, and this analog geezer wants to insist on running country, 62% of whose population is under 35. Could you imagine that? This close to 80-year-old geezer. A ball when I hear that. All you remember when Deacon Mitchell launched his political career and became successful at the leadership of the NDC back in November of 2021? What the old nastiness said in the parliament? He go teach them a thing or two about this thing called politics. Wasn't it he who had to end up saying, the sting of the defeat really hurts? Who teaching who? You see how one can be when he stays focused and pays attention? And who is teaching who about honesty when it comes to fulfilling campaign promises today? The only thing the old nastiness could teach Deacon Mitchell is how to be ashamed for not having any concept of enough, and how to have meow among his legacy as a leader. Remember, a phone, a camera, and social media, and little David and his team mash up Goliath. Look at how the place feels light, with beautiful things flowing effortlessly, save and except for those $800 people and $600 people who all look like a set of old drakes coming to besmirch people's character, attempting rather, every day with a set of rubbish, as the Nigerians say, rubbish, total garbage. But nobody ain't taking them on because it's up, 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 up. You see, there's gutter, gutter, gutter. And where the gutter is, down, 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 down. But the nation is going up, 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 up. Folks, I tell all you, you know, the nastiness gone and he not coming back. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. The one-time ardent supporter of the old nastiness who has recently seen the light. One of them met me recently again, held me in conference to congratulate me for showing him and his wife the light. They agree that my consistency, together with the incontrovertible nature of all that I share regarding this old nastiness, did it for them. They told me, based on how often I refer to him as the old nastiness, they cannot help but see him in that light, in truth. The gentleman told me that they are not known to be out there like that as supporters, but they were ardent supporters who listened to everything on offer as they have the time. The man in particular said, Eddie, none of the old nastiness surrogates can match your brawn, diction, intellect, and consistency to come week after week with freshness that chip away at the head of their beast. While they are all over the place, as you say, diving in the gutter when they cannot improve the quality of the discourse in their attempt to respond, you continue undeterred. All of them combined could not match you. You are doing a fine job. You're very correct that everything you say is incontrovertible. They have to come with personal attacks on you and others in an effort to bring you down to their level. Unquote. Folks, I know that everything I say makes a perfect sense, and they hate it because it's coming from me. My consistency is the killer for them. I am the same person regardless of whether I am liked or disliked. I will continue to attack the head of the snake while all their surrogates behave like scattershots all over the place, not getting through, allowing their narrative to reflect aptly who they are, tricks of the drain. Take a serious look at all of them. By their appearance, you can tell how they smell. All of them look so dirty and dingy, just like drakes in truth. No wonder some of them have to be eating their main meal for the day from a gas station snacket and can't take care of their dwelling expenses. These are the people the old nastiness and his wench of a faceless, nameless monster have leading the charge to attack a decent government. Folks, they tried to see if they could chip away at Andy Williams and realized they can't make hand with him because his revenge proved to be massive success. Now they're gone to Ron Redhead, who would be advised to follow Andy Williams' script. You ought to have the time on your hand, Ron, to flood social media with all that you are doing to up your presence in the constituency and take time to mend fence with any and everyone in the Northeast whom you may offend one way or the other. Mend fence, you have the time. And post things. They say X, you must post ABC. They say Y, you must post DEF. You get a message? And you just keep going down the alphabet until you finish it and you start it all over again. But don't respond to them. They are of the drain, leave them in the gutter. Because Andy did, and he succeeded. They can't make hand with him, so they're coming by you now. And let them feel they can't make hand with you, they're going to keep shifting. Because they're like scatter shot. They're all over the place. They're trying to go on to Kijana, Romaine. Joke they're making. We come in for them. None of them will touch KJ. We come in for them. That's a decent, skillful Grenadian that no gutter is going to allow to decimate in this country. Go and look for your kind. Go and look for among your kind. Did you not hear the old nastiness in Parliament at the joint sitting in lieu of our 50th anniversary? Attempted to present facts on our 1973-74 period. Who could depend on this old nasties for facts? This pathological liar who not only believes his own lies, but lies for no reason whatsoever. Why he did not bring the history to the nation when he was in office? So that so many of our young people would not be hearing about Gary and Bishop for the first time in 2024. He's been around the precincts of power 1995 to 2022 for the most part, and for the first time attempted to present facts according to him. Move from here. Go from here. Get away from here. That is what we ought to say to this old nastiness. All he can come with is irrelevant nonsense, crouched in an attempt to make him comfortable and look good, as if he could stand shoulder to shoulder with Gary or Bishop. Why you don't move from here in truth with that nonsense? I tell all your hashtag, Keith gone, and he not coming back. Even if the night before that historic joint sitting, the unveiling of the commemorative $50 EC note was spectacularly in Sir Eric Gary's and Comrade Bishop's favor, together with, of course, our sports legend, Kirani James. The opposition leader's speech, together with his other foolish colleagues in the parliament, came over as if that night never took place. How irrelevant. And the speeches were based on their thinking that there was no recognition during these 50th anniversary celebrations for Sir Eric Gary, who of course is the undisputed father of Grenada's independence. I tell all you, hashtag Keith gone, and he not coming back. I tell all you, when all you interfere with me earlier on in 2023, y'all didn't know what y'all were doing, you know. Y'all really didn't know what you were doing. Because me, I tell you, I'm looking for a friend. So I'm out there. Open season. I have since. And I'm researched. And I'm coming with incontrovertible facts. Y'all are to come drain talk. Lally and gutter snipe rubbish. But I'm coming with facts. You listen to the whole lot of them on the opposition side, and you can tell they are lost indeed. I tell all you, he gone, he really ain't coming back in truth. What he should do is allow the people who enabled him, his accomplices, oh God, you honor him for his consistency at slackness, commonness, vulgarity, and low classness now. Honor him for being the #1 law breaker and whose example the masses follow today, to the point where it's proving a little difficult to reverse. Not impossible, difficult. You see, in the current construct of things, Deacon Mitchell is showing Grenadians how far ahead we could have been with no poverty and no vulnerability if we had visionary leadership. Something the old nastiness is not capable of at all. Folks, G. Hinckley reminds us that, quote, being humble means recognizing that we are not on earth to see how important we can become, but to see how much difference we can make in the lives of others. In the same breath, that you are a true success when you help others be successful. This all is mind philosophy that we see so many of our countrymen and countrywomen display when they are in a position to help others must be rejected. And the perpetrators must be publicly called out and shamed. There are many people who would like us to think of them as successful, who don't have a shred of honesty and integrity in them. They did not get the memo that success in anything is never achieved by one person. Great things in anything are accomplished by a team of people working together towards a common goal. Look at how a certain person, to be more direct, the old nastiness is crumbling to hold on and continue to dig himself into a deeper hole just because he never was a team player. One person who worked around the precincts of the Prime Minister's office during the entire tenure of the old nastiness told me recently, they are so delighted that they can breathe easy around the precincts of that physical office today, as they no longer have to hear murder this and murder that and F this and F that and a slew of other obscenities coming from an obviously poorly socialized old Negro in a professional space. They feel so comfortable moving around that office and that working environment. The bad spirit is gone and he's not coming back. Folks, it is my wish and prayer that Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell's successes offend all those people who can't stand to see him win. Thank God for the internet and the ability of everything to be shared instantly, that many of us are not interested in mingling can experience everything related to the activities to mark our 50th anniversary of independence virtually and feed off the positive vibes emitted by all in attendance. The unveiling of the commemorative $50 bill with two iconic figures in our history, Sir Eric Matthew Gary and Comrade Maurice Bishop, proved a tremendously emotional moment for so many of us. Of course, Sir Eric, the father of independence, got a rightful place at the front of the note, while Maurice Bishop, without whose signature as Grenada's then Prime Minister, the ECCB, could not have been possible, and the coming into fruition of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, could not have been possible either, got its rightful place on the back of the note. Hey, our iconic, internationally renowned sportsman, King James Kirani, also takes up his position on the note. This brings to mind that had the years and activities of Grenada's longest serving Prime Minister been wholesome and honorable and respectful, not mentioning respectable, and not steeped in wheeling and dealing, guided by slackness and disrespect, accompanied by vindictiveness and total corruption, he stood a chance of being similarly honored. Of course, not now, it's too soon from coming from elections. But eventually, the old nastiness had best chance to do something great for the people of Grenada, but instead used his entire time to do everything for himself and close courts at the expense of the unsuspecting masses who were all dumped on the vote farm. I keep telling among you, the old nastiness ain't good, and he ain't good long. If that old nastiness had used his political skills to do good for this country and its people, we would have been much better off for it. But he just can't do anything good, and is never known to even make a mistake to do anything good. Imagine Murray Bishop could still get encrypted recognition after overthrowing a legitimate government because of the enormous contributions he made to people development and the development of our national economy, which are all impactful up to this day. Look how many local doctors we have today, professional doctors. Look at Dr. Dragon of international standard. You remember Dr. John the surgeon, God rest his soul. He got international recognition, but they're all Cuban trained. Tell me something. 4.5 years. 4.5 years. During the drone show of 7th February, the Deacon Mitchell administration had to force to give a little recognition to the old nastiness in the post-Ivan recovery of Grenada. Of course, we all know that private citizens built and rebuilt Grenada all on their own, with insurance coverage and otherwise with the humanitarian assistance they receive from friendly countries, you know, because we have a lot of relatives abroad, diaspora, poured a lot of finances into Grenada, into private citizens and their relatives' hands. Folks, look at the symbolic government buildings all over the place, still in ruins, thanks to the old nastiness. Even the ministerial complex was due for repairs and massive renovations, getting public servants sick, and no remedy except to contribute to the laziness of workers to send them home early every day for months, probably into years. I will name 3 of the government buildings that are still in ruin and leave you to name the rest. Parliament Building of York House and Government House, the official residence of the head of state, the Governor General. Look at the drill yard on Young Street too. I believe the ECCB should bring back the halfpenny and put the nastiness face on it because of his consistency, for he cannot change. He ain't good and he ain't good long. I tell you, he gone and he not coming back. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. Goodly folks, our Governor General never looked so good. She's never looked better. She's reflecting great relations she and the decent Mitchell as a Prime Minister share. Imagine just by seeing how they function together, anyone can see that they like each other. Anyone can see that they have a good thing and that she's well suited to this time, here, so, and now. If the old nastiness had done what he needed to do over the years, our Governor General would not have to be holding fundraisers to see if she could contribute towards the rebuilding of Government House. That is the level of disrespect she too would have had to endure under the tenure of the old nastiness. Folks, I call it as it is. You're vexed, that's your business. I'm not on the market for friends, so I don't care. I publicly congratulate our Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrenard on her effortless beauty, poise, and grace, for which we ought to be all proud. Our young population do not understand King Charles III of England is King of Grenada and wonder what is all the charade about regarding independence. My dear daughter asked me, Dad, did you know when the Governor General say towards the end of her message, King of Grenada? Did she make a mistake? I had to tell her, no, dear. He is the King of Grenada. And that is why we have a Governor General, because that position, that office represents the King. We elected to become independent, retaining the British Crown as our head of state and membership of the Commonwealth of Nations. You see, young people are starting to pay attention. And this is precisely why our Constitution needs to be adjusted to reflect modern times suited to our local frequency. Grenada is on the radar of the international community, and both Gary and Bishop did magnanimous things that placed us there, with King James Kirani doing his bit to cement us there. But folks, I just want to remind you that if you can't do anything positive to help us to remain as an international focal point where people can focus on us for the right reasons, not as a scandal-plagued country run by an old nastiness who out now making mawet all over the place with slackness, vulgarity, commonness, and man-child behavior, continuing to dig a deeper hole. So I want you to know, don't take any example from the old nastiness. If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Hello? Common sense. Stop digging. Let's take another break, and we come back with another segment. I think we have a little overrun today, you know. Well, not a little.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list will be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest beers I know was. Friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with much fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful. I really should have taken some water on the break, but give me a break. Give me a minute, 1 second. I'm also pumped up that I'm forgetting the order of things today. But anyhow, folks, welcome back. Continue to share the live. And for those of you just joining, some of you apologizing that you're late, but it's good to have you. It's better late than dead on time. You ever heard that saying? Some people say it's better late than never. No, I say it's better late than dead on time. We really have to establish a common stand, folks, on who we want to be as a Grenadian, who we want the Grenadian man and the Grenadian woman to be. What makes us Grenadian? This comes of us expressing how brainwashed we have been over the years, and in particular, during our 50 years of national independence, where we feel to be properly dressed as a man, we have to look like the slave that stole the master's clothes, and that we must adopt names for celebrations as gala, with our expectations set high to judge our conduct of and at such events with eyes of the colonials, instead of developing and adopting what is truly ours, setting standards so that we meet our own expectations as an independent and sovereign civilization. Folks, those are the things that would show our evolution to being an independent nation. Not all these colonial-styled military parades with no reflection of our own originality, but all its simidimi and I dare say stupidness. Time to change and revamp all of that. We have a young administration now, and it is high time they take us to modernity in the strictest sense of the word. If we continue along these lines, our young people will remain in a state of confusion. Time to change all this stuffiness. Imagine people at the National Stadium in the hot sun are expected to wear suit and tie because of our brainwashed state to believe that is how you dress to shop at these events. Hey, how do Nigerians pronounce it? Rubbish. Total rubbish. No wonder so many people get stroke in Grenada. Sometime last year, folks, I was invited to address a particular session as the featured speaker. And the event was being held in a place that is known not to be AC, air conditioned. When I asked what mode of dress they expect from me, I was told suit and tie. Hello? I declined instantly. There is no way anyone is going to shorten my life by having me dressed like that in a tropical climate in an unair-conditioned environment. It's just not happening. It is high time we develop our own formal to suit our neck of the woods with our tropical climate. Folks, this is just a hogwash. It's a lot of rubbish. Developing and adopting a national dress is truly important, which brings me to the thought of nationalizing oil down and really offalizing it and making it our national dish, instead of riding on the wave of the PRG again, which back during the period 1979 to 1983 popularized that dish by claiming it as ours. If we ask people like our alive and walking encyclopedia on things Grenadian, Mrs. Gloria Payne Banfield, she will tell you peas soup is really our national dish. And because oil down is a dish developed here, the PRG in its wisdom thought they should make the switch. Since my days back at the helm at our National Museum, I knew that. I would agree that because we are the only one who do oil down in the region, with it catching on elsewhere now, we should really officially adopt it as our national dish. Let us admit, though, that our oil down is really not a healthy dish. With the focus on health and wellness, we need to develop a standard recipe in collaboration with our Food and Nutrition Council to establish a proper, healthy standard for this gastronomical delight. The way oil down has evolved over the years, with loads of everything in it except the kitchen sink, we have to check ourselves. Remember, our life expectancy is below the biblical prescription of 70, which is 70. Ours is at 69. And we should thank kayaks for living longer than us. So the average is maintained at 69. Otherwise, I shudder to think of what it could have been if kayaks did not live longer than us. I know it would have been much, much lower. When we hear Vision 75 so eloquently presented on the night that commemorated $50 note was officially unveiled at the Grenada Trade Center, we see a leader of substance, a man who is intent on leaving Grenada much, much better than he inherited it from the old nastiness. Folks, we have to be careful who we elect to represent us going forward. We have to have confidence that as operatives of state, they will do right by us and not come and put us on a vote farm again, not take personal advantage of inside information to buy up properties, and when the opportunity arises, sell the said properties that they pay pittance for high stakes, and make off with millions while their constituents are left to be hungry long after they leave office and want to turn around and blame succeeding administrations for the people being poor and vulnerable. Since it took 1995 to 2022 for the most part to get them totally pauperized and as extremely vulnerable as many of them are today, with our health facilities as they are, and the state of our education reflecting total rubbish for our time, it should be our prayer and hope that we don't take as long to turn the tide. Folks, this thing about the all-inclusive nature of our current administration as we observe 50 years of national independence cannot be questioned. Opposition MPs were given paraphernalia to give out to their constituents. NNP green beasts, go and ask them, they have, and they lying to you. They decided not to give them out, not to put up buntings, because that is their way of boycotting. Let me make you feel when they say the government didn't give them nothing, that is true. Watch me good. They lie. They catch what the old nastiness have. The lying disease. They were given things, which of course has the value attached to them. The government didn't get them free. They have a value attached to them. They were obtained by the government of Grenada for free. And as part of the collective connivance to transmit that they were left out, they have not put up any buntings, nor have they distributed the pins and anything else that they were given. So when you hear them use their $800 a month mouthpiece to spread rubbish, you know that it was a concerted effort on their part to pretend they did not receive anything in an effort to make the government look bad. Folks, I tell all you, they do good. And all they're capable of is deceit All they're capable of is deceit. Folks, I'm a subscriber to the following, and I invite you to become the same. First of all, you have to have a concept of the difference between being lonely and being alone. I have been alone now for years, and I choose to continue to be alone. I discovered early that you can never be lonely when you enjoy the company of the person you're alone with. You all remember? What I have noticed in the process is that my purpose has been concretized. I've developed the brawn to do all that I do, regardless of the reactions of anyone. There's absolutely no distraction that is worth taking me off my present course. Haven't you noticed how often I repeat the need to remain focused? I know the power of focus. I live it. Focus breeds consistency, and consistency leads to the ability to make converts of doubters, even without trying. Look at how many doubters my consistency has converted over the years and continue to convert these times here, so and now. I met a young lady just recently who attended to me and was so great at service that she dispensed to me. But I could have felt that she was really trying hard not to offend. I decided that, having invoked my spirit of discernment in our interaction, of course I picked up that it wasn't all genuine. I would level with her. So I said to her, "You seem rehearsed, and the only reason why you are stepping it up with me is because, having discovered my name and putting the voice together with it, you realize that it is he in truth. So try hell hard not to offend." The young lady said, "Oh gosh, sir, you ain't bound to sell me out so." I then said to her, "When you decide it is more important to be professional than to pick and choose who you will allow to take your power from you, and appear forced to do what you don't want to do, then and only then you will be recognized for a job well done." I told her that professionalism is an approach to work using knowledge and high standards of conduct. Our discourse was instructive. And you know, she declared that she learned so much from that half an hour that I spent with her. She even went as far as to say she will have to tell her mother that she finally met me and that I am not a bad man after all. You see, one convert. She pinched me on the side that they support the old nastiness. She didn't call him that though. And even though they log on regularly to hear what I have to say, I know they're listening now. Most of them in her household can't stand me. I had to say to her, "But you know, I don't know you, I don't know them. Look at the first time that I met you, and I'm doing something good for you, as you asserted earlier. Yet for all, none of you, as I said, even met me. You don't know me, but you live through your political commitment to a cult leader that takes you nowhere good and does nothing desirable for you. I said, take this home and spread goodness." I am therefore of the opinion that many people don't like people like me. You know why? Because they don't like themselves and they need somebody else to like them for them to be comfortable with themselves. And so, as opposed to becoming the kind of person we are, they hate the person we are because it is easier to pull us down, to lift themselves up. You may as well proceed and be consistent with who you are and what you stand for, and be good. Because if you don't, they're going to talk about you. If you do, they're going to talk about you still. Do you? That is why I continue to go where I am celebrated and not tolerated. I had lunch with 2 visiting folks for Independence Jubilee and one of my closest friends on Friday last. It was a joy to readily accept this invitation as an opportunity at a good airing out, as I rarely go nowhere. Protecting my energy, I have found out, is not a crime. Folks, when you follow your heart, you always win. I am who I am, and who I am not, I will never be. Confidence, folks, comes from consistently sticking with the commitments that you make with yourself. Every single time you say to yourself, you are going to go and do something and you don't, you know what you're actually telling yourself, your subconscious? You are telling your subconscious mind that you can't even trust yourself. You are not a confident person when you behave like that. But every single time that you say you're going to do it and you stick to your commitment and do it, even though it is scary or even painful, but you did it anyway, that is how you become a confident person over time. But you have to start. How could you become confident if you are plagued by a plethora of distractions? How can you become confident if you are easily distracted? Stay focused. Folks, I do not listen to any local news, period. And this has been happening for years. For their content and presentation are both of inferior quality. I pay absolutely no attention to naysayers. You come with a negative, a vung your way. Go. As for if you come to tell me something about somebody, I don't want to hear nothing about nobody. I filter my telephone calls and only have a trickle of people, stunts, that I give my time to. I block and delete people who love to hit the forward and send buttons on their WhatsApp messages. These things that have absolutely no substance, but steeped in mawet, have no right around me. Go from here. That is why I proceed effortlessly on the track that I have been on consistently for years, never deviating. That is focus. I was viewing a reel recently of the late Miles Monroe of the Bahamas, God rest his soul. When it dawned on me that we really and truly have to put ourselves out, and only with focus we will be able to see the supernatural presence of God in everything, even the negative. Monroe pointed us to Luke chapter 16, where Jesus is reported to be doing a seminar on management. Jesus said, there was a man who had a manager, and his boss had given him management over all his company. The manager mismanaged the goods, the resources. When the man came back and asked the man to give an account of his management, the man had mismanaged all his resources. The scripture said, the man told him, you will be manager no more. You know what's the conclusion there? God fires people. Who does this remind you of? We, the people, gave management of our resources to a man under the guise that he had a team, which he loved to call safer hands. But every time we asked for an account, we were told hogwash and rubbish. Eventually, as owners of Grenada, what did we have to do on June 23rd, 2022? Fire the manager and his whole team and hire a new manager and a new team. Folks, this God-ordained change we invested in on June 23rd, 2022 is no joke. And that is how I know Keith gone and he not coming back. The old nastiness is not coming back. How many times have you heard people who claim God is good, but when you look at them seriously, you see they are working for the wicked? Such people are confused. We have people among us who don't understand the principle of being faithful over little so that we can make them ruler over much. Stop praying for much and instead focus on managing the little that you are given. Manage the little you have been given well and be thankful for what you have. He who is unfaithful in little will be unfaithful in much. If you can't manage $10, don't you dare pray for 100,000. Many of you can't even manage your own living spaces, whether it is your kitchen, your bedroom, your living room, your veranda, your outside yard. The whole place is a mess. Old barrel here and there, unclean foul coop and pig pen smelling up the place, giving your neighbors west. But you want to dress up and come to work saying you is a manager. No wonder the place where you manage operates as poorly as it does, because it is consistent with how you operate in your own house where you live. You're wishing on having your own company and business, and you can't even go to the job you have now on time. If when employed to manage other people's wealth, you fail time and time again, who will give you wealth of your own? Folks, that is why you never get a business first. Instead, you get a job first. God wants to see how you manage other people's property before he trusts you with property of your own. And that is why we must never trust anyone who cannot keep a job. Such people are untrustworthy. Be careful with these people. Be careful with them. Look at our current Prime Minister. Wasn't he massively successful in his own business first before he pivoted into politics? The NDC can only benefit from his leadership because of his successes as a corporate lawyer. If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Common sense. Common sense. Akim, you're always asking for more time. Well, I've given you more time today. We have a last segment coming up, so hold fast. You get your extension today, folks, because I have a lot to share.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
If I take time and I write down the things I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest beers on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for, yeah. Stand for. Oh, island in this.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, 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 folks. And of course, this is the final segment. Overrun today because it's important. So you agree? So for those of you just joining, I want to thank you. You get a little bonus period this afternoon to cope with. Every discipline that Jesus chose was an important discipline. But if you look at the disciples, they were all working men. All of them worked. He never chose lazy people. Peter, James, and John had their own fishing company. He never hung around lazy people. He chose managers. As a leader, he empowered people to become and never turned them into paupers and to become vulnerable, to be solely dependent on him. A lot of these same people who turned a lot of you into abject paupers hang around churches. The crisis in the world has felt terribly by small economies like ours, have many companies rejoicing, especially in light of the role technology can play in replacing lazy, unproductive, rude people. The crisis has come to help cleanse the working environment of these parasites. Whereas the lazy, non-productive elements that have been let go report that they have lost their job. I say no to that. You did not lose a job. God protected the company from your freeloading culture and will continue to do so as long as many of you do not change your ways. Look at you. You're always late. You take 2 hours for lunch. You always on your cell phone, LOLing and supping with others of similar freeloading behavior or unemployed. You lie about being sick. You leave early most afternoons. A lot of you are parasites, folks. This has been going on for the greater part of our 50 years of national independence. And that is why we have not much progress over the years to report. Rarely have anything meaningful to celebrate. That is why I said, if we find ourselves in a hole, we need to stop digging. To continue as we are is to continue to dig, which means, according to Joan Bristol Joseph in a recent comment, quote, when in an untenable position, instead of making the situation worse, it is best to stop. Many people are doing things that will prolong or worsen a situation and won't stop. It's just so simple to take a different approach, knowing things aren't going the way one expects, using their God-given brain. They should follow this motto: common sense is contagious. Catch it, unquote. It is instructive for the old nastiness to note that whatever you mismanage, you lose. That is why I know, hashtag, Keith gone and he not coming back. Imagine the old nastiness did not want to show up at the independence celebrations. And I understand the members of the party had to ask him, the man child that he is, if he crazy. He had to be told he must make an appearance. Look at the statesman Tillman Thomas is and has been. He attends most, if not all, the activities he has been invited to, regardless of who may think of him. His flag was well placed, sitting next to the man-child who put him in his crutch. Nelson Mandela is regarded as the greatest leader of our century. Why? Because he had a concept of enough. He spent 27 years in jail, became president of South Africa after release, and only stayed one term. Unheard of for an African leader. Mugabe of Zimbabwe, on the other hand, was in power for so long that we forgot how long he was in power. But what happened to him? He ended in total disgrace. If he was smart, he would train young men, young women during his preceding 20 years of his disgraceful departure to take over from him so he could travel the world and go play golf and enjoy the finer things of life before he died. Just like the old nastiness right here on our doorstep should do. But you see how they look alike, so they behave alike. That is why disgrace has to be their portion. When you have difficulty making it over the threshold where you can give up power, you must end up in a bad place indeed. It is a good thing that God pays attention and will always destroy and ruin what is set up to destroy us. Even though it may not look kind at the moment, but God sees the bigger picture that we are not set up to see. You may never understand it at the moment, but when you look back at it from down the road where you now stand, you say, thank you, God, for seeing what I did not see. Thank you for protecting me from that disaster in my life. That fateful day that I was ambushed by a mutual friend of the old nastiness and myself, when I was told back in 1996 during that ambush by the old nastiness, oh, sir, go ahead, man, go ahead. You go see what you will get. Turned out to be the best day of my life, as no part of my life story is tarnished by any further association with that old nastiness. Thank you, God. Unfortunately, not many of you can say that today, for so many of you are properly disfigured just for your association with him. So many of you have become like a bounced check, valueless. This 1995 to 2022 period taught one the importance of paying attention. For all that glitters ain't gold. I am sure they now understand that the people we hang around and allow to hang around us are actually prophesying our future. Look at their life today. Is there anything about their life that you want? Unless you change those relationships. 5 years from now, your life is going to look exactly like theirs. Folks, it does not matter if it is your father, your mother, your siblings, your cousins, your best friend. Everybody around you is struggling. Trust me, you will struggle too. That is the frequency you are feeding from, and that is the frequency you too will emit. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We're talking about subconscious and unconscious thoughts that have taken up residence rent-free in your mind. Time to eject them. After all, if Kijana Romaine and his team of young people on behalf of youthful Deacon Mitchell could take down the old nastiness with a phone, a camera, and social media, that tells you how things have changed. And not even all the money we saw pelted all over the place could have stopped the changing tide. History records that Eric Gary was only 58 years old when he was overthrown and replaced with a 34-year-old equally charismatic and erudite leader, Comrade Morris Bishop. Deacon Mitchell was 44 when he and his youthful brigade, under the banner of a totally revived National Democratic Congress, NDC, armed with a phone, a camera, and social media, took down the 75-year-old geezer and relegating him to the dustbin of our history. The same way Gary came in 1950, and at the age of 29 advised all that the age of leadership in Grenada changed from old frowsy colonials to a youthful black man 74 years ago. And many of you dropped the ball and allowed an almost 80-year-old nastiness to grip the corridors of power. And Morris Bishop came at the age of 26 and started to agitate against Gary. And 8 years later, when Gary was only 50, this mostly youthful population should follow that tradition and never allow anyone way over 50, to ever hold the reins of power in this country anymore. You start in your 40s and you end in your 50s, that's okay. You are in your 50s and you are part of a government, that's okay. But don't let them lead again. Young people, assert your goddamn selves and take up your rightful positions and stop allowing these old farts to pollute leadership in this country. Remember, I tell you, I am on your side. Such people can never be current in their thinking. Operatives of the creative space close to Deacon Mitchell administration need more than 24 hours in any day. Look at how many of our nation's young people have become purpose-driven, where their efforts at creativity count for something today. Look at the plethora of them who are beating drums once more, preparing good music, singing plentifully, producing wonderful poetry, just making themselves totally useful. A matter of fact, you see a different spirit in even young people who are playing steel band today. You saw them yesterday. A new verve in them, a new life in them. That never happened at will under the old nastiness. Creativity was never encouraged, but stifled by substanceless, eternal Imani program that had no end, where they were taught to accept and believe they were only worth $800 for 10 years, and in some cases, much, much more, guaranteeing to become debauchers when they were too old to be Imanis. I am sure the older folks who are programmed to think the propaganda-infused method of political public relations is the only way, must be beginning to appreciate that a governing party must allow its work to do the public relations for them. Of course, the traditional way of conducting PR campaigns must not be abandoned altogether, but it cannot take front and center anymore as we strive to depoliticize this highly politicized nation. When we see how our nation continues to practice gutter politics, which the nation completely rejected on June 23rd, 2022, and in spite of their insistence, the Deacon Mitchell-led administration presses on with its force, it must tell you that a cataclysmic shift has not only started, but has taken root in Grenada. Now for some revolutionary nostalgia. Forward ever, backward never. Folks, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Common sense. You see how the man-child of an old nastiness cannot stop digging? In spite of being in a hole, don't allow his bad example to influence you to follow suit with your life. Hashtag Keith gone and he not coming back. Folks, I'm in, I'm out, and I am gone. Thank you for joining. Continue to share. See you next week, God willing, for more extraordinary program. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant and lifted. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. May this year, 2024, be the year of conscious awakening to take our health more seriously, so together we can bring our national life expectancy to 70 years and over while building Grenada. Folks, toodaloo. Take great care. Thank you for joining. It was really a plum-pleasing pleasure to have all of you in the room today. Peace and blessings. Peace and plenty blessings. All the very best.
Great advice. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meat and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island. Best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me